a lot of people, and I get asked this question a lot, and people say that the critics of Islam, they say like it's not a religion of peace, it's not about poverty, it's not about socioeconomic conditions. It is deeply rooted in the text, deeply rooted in the religion, and you are just like we just come from a place where it's full of violence, and there's no way to reform unless that you have to reject it. And you get faced a lot with this kind of narrative.
Yes.
And how do you respond to that?
I think we need to give several answers at the same time. I mean, you and I'm assuming it must be very similar. I grew up observing women like my grandmother who were traditional in their own way, but strong and supportive at the same time. It is possible. We should refrain from sweeping generalizations. This is not helping. We need to look at issues in a more nuanced way. And I am afraid that many of those nuances are being lost in this narrative today. So I am critical of those generalizations. However, I am also critical of people who say, well, Islam is very peaceful. It's just the Western media that distorts it. That is not fair either. So what do? We need to first of all understand the problems. Patriarchy is a universal problem. Domestic violence is a universal problem. We must understand the universality of this. At the same time, we must understand why is it that in some places in the world it is more concentrated, it's more dense. So we can be critical of several things at the same time. I think extremist ideologies breed each other. Anti-Western sentiments in the Middle East go hand in hand with Islamophobia elsewhere. Extremist ideologies need each other.
Yeah, and thank you. If I may, a lot of people they think that for the past 1500 years we've been like having like a straight trajectory on the same path. But like if you look at pictures in the 1950s and 60s and 40s in now Afghanistan and now and Egypt and places in the Arab world, it has not been like this. I mean, what we see right now is fairly new. I mean, it's been there in the history, of course.
Yeah.
But the Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all of that, and I think people fail to see that it is politics and money. There are certain countries and monarchies in the world who breed and who actually feed this through support and through money, and it's the same monarchies that are supported and allies with the United States because they're so addicted to oil, and And I always give the example of you have crazy people everywhere. I mean, of course, there's certain stuff that you can build on, but there's also crazy stuff in everybody's scripture. So if you give the same amount of money and support to the Westboro Baptist Church, let's see what these crazy people will do. So it's just like it's an unopposed mentality that is having this support and money, and I'm sorry to interject because it kind of feels, but again, I mean, I think it's obvious that none of us here are like apologists, and we're trying to make like a fair argument here.